You become what you give your attention to. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "A truth so simple yet so powerful it can change the way you live." Where does your attention go every day? Are you caught up in distractions, chasing fleeting pleasures, or dwelling on the past? Or are you focusing on what truly shapes who you are? Your habits, your purpose, your gratitude. In this video, we'll explore 5 fresh Stoic lessons inspired by Epictetus's wisdom to help you direct your attention intentionally and transform your life. I've struggled with distractions myself, and I'll share how these ancient ideas brought me clarity. Stick around for practical tips you can start using today to become the best version of yourself. Let's dive in. Epictetus's idea that we become what we focus on starts with a simple truth. The only moment you truly have is right now. The past is gone. The future isn't here yet. But the present? That's where your power lies. I used to be someone who lived everywhere but the present. I'd replay past mistakes in my head, like that awkward thing I said in a meeting last week, or I'd stress about the future, like whether I'd hit my career goals in 5 years. Sound familiar? Here's the problem. When you give your attention to the past or future, you're missing out on the only moment you can actually live in. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, put it beautifully. Confine yourself to the present. Let this truth settle within you. The present is where you can act, where you can grow, where you can find peace. A few months ago, I decided to try something new. I was on a hike with friends, and instead of worrying about work deadlines or checking my phone, I focused on the moment. I noticed the sound of the birds, the crunch of leaves under my feet, the way the sunlight filtered through the trees. For those few hours, I felt completely alive. No regrets about the past, no anxiety about the future. It was a small shift, but it showed me the power of giving my attention to the now. So here's your first Stoic lesson. Live in the present moment. The next time you catch yourself drifting to the past or future, pause. Take a deep breath and look around. What can you see, hear, or feel right now? Maybe it's the warmth of your coffee cup or the laughter of a loved one. Give your attention to that. Start small. Try it for 5 minutes today. What's one thing you can focus on in this moment? What you give your attention to doesn't just affect your present. It shapes who you'll become. Epictetus believed that our habits are the building blocks of our character. If you focus on distractions, you'll become distracted. But if you focus on habits that align with your values, you'll become the person you want to be. I learned this the hard way. A couple of years ago, I noticed I was spending way too much time binge-watching shows. I'd tell myself, just one more episode, and suddenly it was 2 a.m. I wasn't sleeping well, I felt sluggish at work, and I wasn't making progress on my goals. That's when I came across a quote from Aristotle. "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. It hit me hard. I was giving my attention to mindless entertainment, and it was turning me into someone I didn't want to be. Epictetus would say, focus on habits that build your character, because that's what you'll become. So I decided to make a change. I started small. I replaced 1 hour of TV with 1 hour of reading every night. At first, it was tough. I'd reach for the remote out of habit. But over time, I started to love my new routine. I read books on Stoicism, self-improvement, even some fiction, and I felt my mind growing sharper, my perspective expanding. That one small habit changed how I saw myself. I went from someone who wasted time to someone who invested in growth. Here's your second Stoic lesson. Build habits that shape your future self. Pick one habit you want to focus on. Maybe it's reading for 15 minutes a day or going for a morning walk. Give your attention to that habit consistently, even if it's just for a few minutes. Over time, you'll see how it transforms you. What's one habit you can start focusing on this week? In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Your phone buzzing, emails piling up, endless notifications. Epictetus didn't have to deal with smartphones, but he knew the danger of letting your attention wander. He taught that if you give your focus to trivial things, you'll become trivial. I've fallen into this trap more times than I'd like to admit. Last year, I was working on a big project at work, but I kept getting distracted by my phone. I'd check one notification, and suddenly, I was down a rabbit hole of memes and news articles. Hours later, I'd barely made progress, and I felt frustrated with myself. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, warned about this. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. Let that sink in. When you give your attention to distractions, you're scattering your energy. You're not fully present in anything, and you're not moving toward your goals. The Stoics believed we have the power to choose where our focus goes. It's one of the few things we can control. So I decided to take back my focus. I started using a simple trick. I'd put my phone in another room while I worked, and I'd set a timer for 25 minutes of focused work, followed by a 5-minute break. It's called the Pomodoro technique, and it was a game changer. Without my phone to distract me, I got more done in 1 hour than I used to in a whole day. I felt productive, in control, and honestly, a lot less stressed. Here's your third Stoic lesson. Avoid the trap of distractions. Identify one distraction that's been stealing your attention. Maybe it's your phone, or maybe it's overthinking small things. Then set a boundary. If it's your phone, try leaving it in another room for an hour while you focus on something meaningful. If it's overthinking, write down your thoughts and set them aside for later. What's one distraction you can cut out today? Epictetus's wisdom isn't just about avoiding the bad. It's about focusing on the good. He believed that true happiness comes from giving your attention to things that have meaning, not fleeting pleasures. I used to chase pleasure all the time. A few years ago, I'd spend my weekends going out, partying and buying stuff I didn't need, thinking it would make me happy. But by Monday, I'd feel empty, like I'd wasted my time. Then I came across a quote from Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching. He who knows he has enough is rich. Let this truth settle within you. Chasing pleasure, like endless entertainment, material things or short-term thrills, keeps you on a hamster wheel. It feels good for a moment, but it doesn't last. Epictetus would say, give your attention to what has lasting value. Your purpose, your relationships, your growth. For me, that meant rethinking how I spent my time. Instead of going out every weekend, I started volunteering at a local community center. I'd help out with kids' programs, teaching them basic skills like drawing or storytelling. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave me a sense of purpose I'd never felt from a night out. I was giving my attention to something meaningful, and it made me feel richer than any shopping spree ever could. Here's your fourth Stoic lesson. Seek meaning over pleasure. Think about one thing in your life that gives you a sense of purpose. Maybe it's a hobby, a relationship, or a cause you care about. Give your attention to that this week. It could be as simple as calling a friend you haven't talked to in a while, or spending an hour on a passion project. What's one meaningful thing you can focus on today? If you become what you give your attention to, then one of the most powerful things you can focus on is gratitude. Epictetus taught that happiness doesn't come from getting more. It comes from appreciating what you already have. I didn't always get this. A few years ago, I was so focused on what I didn't have, a better job, a bigger apartment, a fancier car, that I completely overlooked the good in my life. I'd complain about my long commute, my small apartment, even the weather. Then I read something by Marcus Aurelius that changed my perspective. When you arise in the morning, Think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Let that sink in. I started a simple gratitude practice. Every morning, I'd write down 3 things I was thankful for. Some days it was big stuff, like my family's support. Other days it was small, like the smell of rain or a good song on the radio. Over time, I noticed a shift. I stopped focusing on what I lacked and started appreciating what I had. My commute became a chance to listen to podcasts. My small apartment felt cozy. And even rainy days seemed beautiful. Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher, had a similar mindset. He famously said, "Contentment is natural wealth, luxury is artificial poverty." When you give your attention to gratitude, you become rich in the ways that matter. You stop chasing what you don't have and start celebrating what you do. Here's your 5th Stoic lesson. Cultivate gratitude every day. Try this. At the end of today, write down 3 things you're thankful for. They don't have to be big, just things that brought you joy or peace. Maybe it's a kind word from a coworker, or the fact that you're healthy enough to watch this video. Make this a daily habit and watch how it changes your perspective. What's one thing you're grateful for right now? Let's bring it all together with Epictetus's wisdom. You become what you give your attention to. It's a reminder that your focus shapes your life. We've explored 5 fresh Stoic lessons to help you direct your attention intentionally. Live in the present moment. Build habits that shape your future self. Avoid distractions. Seek meaning over pleasure. And cultivate gratitude every day. These ideas have helped me find clarity in a noisy world. And I hope they do the same for you. Here's my challenge for you. Pick one of these lessons and try it today. Maybe it's taking 5 minutes to be fully present. Or starting a small gratitude habit. Whatever you choose, notice how it feels to focus intentionally. I'd love to hear how it goes. Share your experience in the comments. If this video spoke to you, give it a like and share it with someone who might need a little Stoic wisdom. Don't forget to subscribe for more practical life lessons. See you in the next video.